Imagine pressing your brake pedal and nothing happens. That terrifying scenario is known as brake fade, a phenomenon that has challenged drivers for decades. We'll explain exactly what causes it and how to recognize and avoid this critical safety issue. Here's the thing nobody tells you when you learn to drive. Brakes don't actually stop your car, heat does. Every time you press that pedal, you're asking your braking system to take all the energy your 2,000-pound vehicle is carrying down the road and turn it into something else, and that something else is heat. An enormous amount of it. When the system can't shed that heat fast enough, things start going wrong in a hurry. The history of brakes is basically a 400-year fight against this exact problem. Early carriages used wooden blocks dragged against iron wheels, and those blocks would literally catch fire on long descents. The shift to drum brakes in the early 1900s helped, and the move to disc brakes after Jaguar won Le Mans in 1953 helped even more. Modern carbon ceramic brakes take this evolution further, resisting fade at temperatures where conventional systems fail. But no matter how clever the engineering gets, the same enemy keeps showing up, and that enemy is heat. When heat wins, you get brake fade. Now let's talk about what's actually happening when your brakes fade, because there isn't just one kind. There are three of them. They feel different, and they get fixed in different ways. The most common one is called pad fade. Your brake pads are made of friction material held together with resins, kind of like a really tough cookie. Those pads have a temperature range where they work well, and for most street pads, that range tops out somewhere under 700 degrees Fahrenheit. Push them past that, and the resins start to break down and release gas. That gas forms a thin layer between the pad and the rotor, which means your pad is basically hydroplaning on a cushion of its own vaporized binder. The pedal still feels firm under your foot, but the stopping power is just gone. That's pad fade. The second type is fluid fade, and this one is sneakier. Modern cars use hydraulic brakes, which means when you press the pedal, you're squeezing brake fluid through a line, and that fluid pushes a piston in the caliper, and the piston pushes the pad into the rotor. Simple enough. But .3 and .4 brake fluid has a problem. It's hygroscopic, which is a fancy way of saying it pulls moisture right out of the air. Even sealed in your reservoir, it absorbs a little bit of water every month. And after about 2 years, the water content can climb to nearly 4%, which drops the boiling point by roughly 100 degrees. So you're hammering the brakes down a long hill, the fluid in the caliper boils, water turns to vapor, and vapor compresses in a way liquid never does. This vapor lock condition means when you push the pedal, instead of moving the piston, you're just squishing a pocket of steam. The pedal goes soft, and then it sinks to the floor. The third type is green fade, and this one only happens once. When brake pads are brand new, the resins haven't fully cured yet, and the first few times those pads get hot, they outgas just like overheated pads do. The difference is it happens at lower temperatures, and it catches people off guard. That's why every pad manufacturer has a bed-in procedure, sometimes called the 30-30-30 rule. 30 stops from 30 miles per hour, with 30 seconds of cooling between each one. This process creates proper friction material transfer between pad and rotor. It sounds tedious, but it's the difference between brakes that work and brakes that surprise you on day one. Here's where this gets personal. Most drivers will never experience real brake fade. You can drive a Honda Civic to work and back for 20 years and never get your brakes hot enough to fade. Modern ABS systems help by preventing wheel lockup, but even anti-lock braking systems can't save you from thermal fade. 3 situations change everything. Mountain descents are the first. If you're driving down a long grade and riding the brake pedal the whole way, you're dumping continuous heat into a system that has no chance to cool off. This is exactly what kills truckers on roads like the Eisenhower Tunnel descent or the Grapevine in California, which is why you'll see runaway truck ramps on these dangerous grades. The fix is engine braking. Drop a gear or two and let the engine do the slowing for you. Towing or hauling is the second. A loaded vehicle has more energy to dissipate every time you slow down, and if you're pulling a trailer and your brakes feel fine on flat ground, they might not be fine on a long downhill with all that weight pushing you forward. Track driving is the third. Even a casual track day will heat your brakes harder than any street driving you've ever done, and that's where racing pads, racing brake fluid, and brake ducts earn their money. Disc brakes resist fade better than drum brakes, which is a big reason discs took over the front axle of basically every car by the 1970s. Drums have a closed shape that traps heat, and they have a quirk called self-servo, where a small loss of friction can cause a much bigger loss of stopping power. Disc brakes are open to the air, they cool faster, and they fade later. So avoiding this comes down to three things. Replace your brake fluid every 2 years, even if your car doesn't tell you to. It's a $30 service that prevents the scariest type of fade. Use the right pads for what you're actually doing. Street pads on a track car will fade in 2 laps, and racing pads on a grocery getter will squeal and chew through your rotors in 6 months. And learn to use engine braking on long descents. The brakes on your car were not designed to absorb 15 minutes of continuous downhill load. Your transmission was. Imagine pressing your brake pedal and nothing happens. It used to be a death sentence on every mountain road in America. It still kills people who don't know what's coming, but now you do.